गणानां त्वा गणपतिगं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम् प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती धीनामभित्र्यवतु गणेशाय नमः सरस्वत्यै नमः श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ओम् ॐ पुरुषस्य विद्मसहस्राक्षस्य महादेवस्य धीमहि तन्नो रुद्रः प्रचोदयात् तत्पुरुषाय विद्महे महादेवाय धीमहि तन्नो रुद्रः प्रचोदयात् तत्पुरुषाय विद्महे वक्रतुण्डाय धीमहि तन्नो दन्तिः प्रचोदयात् तत्पुरुषाय विद्महे चक्रतुण्डाय धीमहि तन्नो नन्दिः प्रचोदयात् तत्पुरुषाय विद्महे महासेनाय धीमहि तन्नः षण्मुखः प्रचोदयात् तत्पुरुषाय विद्महे सुवर्णपक्षाय धीमहि तन्नो गरुडः प्रचोदयात् वेदात्मनाय विद्महे हिरण्यगर्भाय धीमहि तन्नो ब्रह्म प्रचोदयात् नारायणाय विद्महे वासुदेवाय धीमहि तन्नो विष्णुः प्रचोदयात् वज्रनखाय विद्महे तीक्ष्णदग्गष्ट्राय धीमहि तन्नो नारसिंहः प्रचोदयात् भास्कराय विद्महे महद्युतिकराय धीमहि तन्नो आदित्यः प्रचोदयात् वैश्वानराय विद्महे लालीलाय धीमहि तन्नो अग्निः प्रचोदयात् कात्यायनाय विद्महे कन्याकुमारी धीमहि तन्नो दुर्गिः प्रचोदयात् साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्ताम् न्यायेन मार्गेण महीमहिषाः गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः शुभमस्तु नित्यम् समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
I offer my humble and loving pranams at Bhagwan's lotus feet. I also take this opportunity to offer my gratitude, my respects, my salutations to my grandparents and parents, because of whom Swami came very early into my life, because of whom my life has been what it is. My grandfather first came to Bhagwan in the year 1962, and Swami blessed the marriage of my parents in the year 1972. Rites, rituals like naming ceremony, Aksharabhyasam, etc. for my brother, for me, and all my cousins were performed by Bhagwan himself. And all this because of the merit of my parents and grandparents. They also showed me when I was at a very impressionable age that mere existence could become an enriched life, a fulfilled life, only by engaging ourselves in activities like seva or other such devotional activities, by thinking about something which is little higher than mere mundane. And what best way to do this than to become part of Swami and his organization. My grandfather was a very active member of the Satyasai Seva Samiti in Vijayawada and Krishna district. He would come to Swami often, and Swami would interact with him on matters regarding the Samiti activities. He was also a very strict disciplinarian, and he won't ask Swami anything about the personal or the family matters when Swami would have called him to interact regarding the Samiti work. After my brother was born, my parents wanted Bhagwan to name him. So my mother brought this 2-month-old baby to Swami when Swami had visited Hyderabad during the first anniversary celebrations of the Shivam Mandir in the year April 1974. Swami interacted during that visit with my grandfather on multiple occasions, but most of the interactions were regarding the Samiti work. He also acknowledged that he had seen my grandmother and mother during the darshan sessions, but a name was still not forthcoming. One day, out of desperation during the darshan session, my grandfather kept the baby at Swami's feet. And Swami lovingly chided, "Hey, small baby, don't put him like that." He was showering love, but he was not relenting. A name was still elusive. A few months passed. It was Dashera time, and my grandparents were once again at Puttaparthi. And this time, they had come with a proposal of conducting 2 marriages, that of their son, that's my uncle, and their youngest daughter. Swami called them for an interview and agreed to perform both the marriages simultaneously in Brindavan in April of the subsequent year. During that interaction, my grandmother made bold to ask Swami for a name for my brother. Referring to my mother, Swami said, "I know she is coming to me with a small baby, but do you think I will give so easily?" My mother persisted. The first year of my brother's Earthly Sojourn was without a formal name. During the April of 1975, when the marriage party had come to Brindavan, Swami went to their hall and was interacting with the marriage party. It was then that my brother finally got a name at a fairly senior age of 1 year and 2 months. And he also got a chain and a locket created by the Creator for his creation. For all Sai devotees, Swami is very unique. And one of the main reasons for that is the kinship that he gives to all the devotees. Why did Swami take avatarhood? What is the meaning of this avatarhood? And in Swami's own words, he has said, "Janulapai Preeti Vatsalya Paratatoda Vari Sthayiki Daivambu Vachuchu Bhuviki Jiva Pragyato Batuga Daiva Pragya." He has come to shower love, Preeti or interpersonal love, and Vatsalya, motherly love. He has come to develop that one-to-one relationship with all his devotees. The avatar has come to our human level, to our level, with a delightful blend of individual consciousness and divine consciousness. The avatar behaves in a human way so that mankind can feel kinship with him, but rises to the superhuman levels so that mankind can aspire to reach those levels. Out of compassion on us, he allows us to get close to him and feel that kinship. But at other times, he shows glimpses of what power he is. I would like to narrate two instances which substantiate these 2 points. These two were instances in the Trai session, a session in which Swami would interact with the students and staff of his college and a few other guests in his home, which is Trai Brindavan. On one particular Trai session, Swami had called all the freshers or the first year students to be seated in the front. And this was the year when I had joined the Brindavan College. And on that day, actually, I was given a bowl of groundnuts to be offered to Bhagwan. Basically, there's a group of students in the hostel who would roast a few groundnuts, put them into a bowl, and bring them to the Trai Brindavan complex so that one of the students can be given an opportunity of interaction with the divine. And on that day, the chance was given to me. But it was one of those first few occasions in my life when I was to see Swami in such close proximity. Bhagwan being love incarnate and all that was fine, all that theory was good. But then, up until that point, Swami was a god in my altar. And here, in such close proximity, I was to offer this groundnut bowl. There was tension writ large on my face. Swami looked at me with a lot of compassion. He smiled, then stretched out his hand, and then made an action as though he was mixing the groundnuts, an action as though he was putting a fistful into his mouth and he was chewing them. The relief was palpable and brought a smile to my face as well as to all those around me. That incident showed me that this Bhagwan could be my friend. And in fact, as Swami said, God is the only true friend. The second instance, the second Trai session that I would like to recall is another occasion when I got an opportunity to sit right in front of Swami's Jhula. And as he was giving a discourse, I had the opportunity to do Pad Seva, mildly massage Swami's feet, even as he was speaking. Swami, during that talk, was speaking about how God is all powerful, everything, the entire creation is His, etc. And at that moment when I touched Swami's feet, that time I felt like a strong current coming to my hand. My hand was shivering, and that actually disturbed Bhagwan. And he gave a stare at me saying, "Don't do." I removed my hand and the current vanished. Internally, I prayed to Bhagwan, "Bhagwan, give me the experience, give me the joy of your touch and allow me to do this Pad Seva." After a few moments, again I tried to touch Swami's feet and do Pad Seva, and this time the current wasn't there. Swami has on several occasions has literally shouted at people when they try to touch him when he's in that zone, because unable to withstand the power that he is, they would have burned to ashes. In a small measure, Swami demonstrated to me on that day what power God is. I would also here I would like to go back a little bit in time and tell you about how I came to join Swami's Institute. From my childhood, I wanted to become an engineer. My father was one, and I wished to follow his footsteps. During our visits to Puttaparthi, I used to see how the students of Swami's college and school used to get so much proximity with Bhagwan, and he would spend so much time with them, give so much chances to them. And there arose a strong desire in me that I too should become Swami's student. But then these twin goals of engineering and becoming Swami's student were at loggerheads, because in Swami's college at Puttaparthi, there are no engineering courses. So I came up with a plan. I was studying in my 10th grade at that time, and I thought that maybe 11th and 12th, the 2 years of schooling, I would do at Bhagwan's college, Swami's school, and then I will go out to pursue my engineering courses. I convinced my parents, and we applied for the 11th class entrance exam. However, my application was rejected. We got a letter saying that I am not being called for the entrance exam and no further correspondence in that regard would be entertained. We were a bit dejected, to say the least, but we had actually booked our train tickets much in advance. So we thought we should come anyways to Puttaparthi and to Vrindavan and have Swami's darshan. During an interaction with one of the staff of the school, we came to know that the decision to reject my application was an error. It was because of some error in the calculation of my percentage. But as future incidents would show, there is no error with Swami. Everything is his master plan. So once the application to join the 11th standard was rejected, that only strengthened my resolve and my desire to become a Swami student. Engineering became second preference, and now I wanted to join the Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning. However, there was this feeling that really, in case joining Swami's college was not written in my fate, then what would I do after my 12th standard? So I earnestly started preparing for the entrance exams of premier engineering colleges like IIT, Roorkee College, etc. Swami gives, but at the same time he tests. What had happened was that the interview date for Swami's university coincided with the examination date for the IIT entrance exam. So for one last moment before the entrance, I had to make a decision. And by Bhagwan's grace, I was sure that I wanted to join his university. And he gave me a seat for the Bachelor's of Science course in the Vrindavan campus. Before coming to Puttaparthi, this feeling of joining Swami, this feeling of being close to him, was also a blessing of Bhagwan only. How did that happen? People say that faith is all the strength that a man needs. And they say that Arjuna had a very strong faith in Lord Krishna. There's a story that goes like this. Once Krishna asks Arjuna, look at that bird on the tree. It's a parrot, isn't it? And Arjuna replies, yes, Lord, it's a parrot. Krishna says, no, see carefully. It's a pigeon. And Arjuna replies, yes, my Lord, it's a pigeon indeed. Krishna retorts, no, what are you saying? It's a crow. Arjuna agrees once more. After a few more such iterations, when Arjuna is asked why is it that he was changing his observation, Arjuna replies that Lord Krishna has the power to transform one to the other, and therefore whatever he says is the truth. Arjuna is credited to have such supreme faith in Krishna's word. But is it not Lord Krishna who himself developed, cultivated, instilled that type of faith in Arjuna through the numerous interactions, through the numerous teachings, the kinship that he had given? Swami performing miracles is his grace on us so that we develop faith in him. Otherwise, foolish that we are, we would be languishing in doubt rather than trying to imbibe the lessons that the avatar has come to teach, rather than experiencing and enjoying the kinship that he has come to give. With the type of upbringing that I had, knowing that Swami was our God, I never doubted Swami's miracles, nor was I very fascinated or attracted by them. Yet, the first miracle that happened in our house in New Delhi left a very lasting impression in my psyche. It was the first time that I had to there was a situation that I had to be alone in our house in New Delhi. My father was away on an office assignment. My brother had already joined the Brindavan College, and my mother had to attend an important family function in our native in Vijayawada. So I was alone at home. This was, I was around in the 8th or 9th standard. The very next day after my mother left to Vijayawada, I was sitting in my room and studying. It was also the altar room of our house, and I felt a very strong smell, very strong presence. The first emotion was fear. Did I leave the gas on in the kitchen? My mother had told me to be extremely careful there. But then on closer observation, I found that on the glass framed photograph of Bhagwan, there was Vibhuti had manifested. That first miracle in our house when I was alone in New Delhi made two things very clear for me. Firstly, I am never alone. Swami is always with me and he will take care of me. And second, there's no doubting Swami's miracles. Swami actually is such a wonderful avatar. His grace is immense because he not only fulfills our wishes but also transmutes them such that our wish or our life itself is fulfilled. As I mentioned, how I had joined Swami's college, the very first week after I had joined Swami's college, a teacher had joined our physics department. And he was the alumnus of Swami's University. He had completed his graduation, his master's, as well as his MTech in Puttaparthi, and then joined as a faculty in the Brindavan campus. Seeing him, I thought I should also do service in Swami's organization after I finish my education. This was in the first week after I had joined for my graduation. During the discourse of Dussehra 1960, Swami's exhortation to the thousands who had gathered, Na charitrlo meeru cheripovali, become a part of my history. Yes, Bhagwan, that was exactly what my prayer was. My prayer was that after finishing my education, I should do service in Swami's institution. I would like to recall an incident which showed Swami's omniscience. This was the first Dussehra that I witnessed in Puttaparthi, the Dussehra of the year 1995. We had come from Vrindavan to Puttaparthi for the function, and it was Swami's 70th year of the Advent. And every festival was being celebrated in a very grand manner. On the Ayudh Puja day, there was so much joy, so much energy, so much jubilation in the air. The sparklingly shining Swami's cars were decorated and arranged in the mandir, and Swami broke coconuts in front of each of them, sat in them for a few minutes, and then after that he went for another round of darshan, a bonus round, so to say. And this time he was also distributing chocolates as he was going around. I was sitting in the portico of the mandir and having Swami's darshan as he was going around the gents devotees. I was at a good 15-16 meters away from Bhagwan, and Swami was facing the devotees, opposite direction to where I was seated. At that moment, a thought arose in me. Swami, just like how these cars are your instruments, you should accept me also as your instrument and keep me with you. As soon as this thought came to me, Swami turned suddenly, almost 180 degrees, and deeply looked into my eyes. When divinity looks at you like that, you just know it is for you. I knew at that time that Swami knows every thought that I have. As was my prayer on that Ayudh Puja day in the year 1995, Swami has kept me with him. However, for our wishes to be fulfilled, the right time has to come. So after my post-graduation I completed in Puttaparthi, I decided that I would like to wait for Bhagwan to give me an opportunity. I obviously, gratefully had the blessings and the support of my parents for this decision. This waiting boys is a very interesting concept. Students, actually you cannot call them students because they have completed their education already. They decide to hold on to Bhagwan, to wait in Puttaparthi or wherever Swami is and pray for an opportunity to serve in his institutions. In the year 1991, there were a few such eager ones. Many days had passed, and whenever they would ask Swami, Swami, give us an opportunity to serve, Swami would say, wait, wait. One afternoon, Swami called this group for an interview. And they were very excited, very happy that finally their wait, their patience is going to yield fruit. After everybody settled down, Swami looked at all of them and then said, do you like coffee? Yes, they nodded, wondering, here we are waiting for a service opportunity and Bhagwan is interested in coffee. Then Swami said, what do you do with the cup after you drink coffee? And they said, Swami, we wash it with soap in the sink. Right, but I do not do it that way. They were still wondering what is going on here. Swami said, I keep the cup in the sink, but I fill it with water. What happens then? And they answered, Swami, the hardened stains will soften. It will become easier to wash. And Swami says, exactly, that is what I do. They were still puzzled. What was this leading to? And then Swami explained, it looks as though the cups have been kept aside, that we will wash them later. But actually by filling the water in the cup, the cleaning process has already begun. And I too do the same way. I fill the devotees up to the brim with my grace. And when the right time comes, just one swipe and your heart is cleaned. The students thereafter never complained about waiting. So I too had a waiting time for about 8 months, during which too Swami had given lot of blessings and showered lot of love. And after that, I got this wonderful opportunity of serving in Bhagwan's hospital. I remember the day very vividly, the 21st of December, 2 decades ago. Swami had called a few of us to the Trai compound. Early morning, he gave Pad Namaskar and then he told us, go join the hospital. Within an hour or two of us joining the hospital, Swami too came here. He came to the department where I was, the very room where I was posted, and compassionately said, you have joined here, come take Namaskar. A bonus Namaskar for me at the place of work. He knew for me to discharge the duties that I am assigned, I would need his grace. He gives us the opportunity to serve and also blesses us with his support so that we do the job well. In the library of Vrindavan, there was a poster which would say, God has a plan for my life and that is all that I need to know. I knew how true it had been. By rejecting my application to study for 2 years in 11th standard, he has kept me with him, and now it is 2.5 decades that I am at his feet. Swami not only fulfills our desires, but also transmutes our lower desires to those which give fulfillment to our very life. Mysterious are the ways he pulls us to him. And it is so for hundreds and thousands of devotees, students, staff. I would like to narrate one more incident when I experienced Swami's omniscience. We had joined Swami's hospital, and on one occasion, Bhagwan called all the students who had joined this hospital, for an interview. During that interaction, once Swami asked as to where did we all come from. I had a little time to think because I am generally not among those who are seated right in the front. So I was wondering what should I answer. I am actually an Andhraite, but my schooling was at New Delhi. And during those years, my parents were actually staying in Jamnagar in Gujarat. So what should I answer? Instead of considering what is the most appropriate answer, I thought I should give that answer which will hold Swami's attention, which will engage or prolong the interaction with Bhagwan. So I thought I should tell Jamnagar, because Swami would remember Rajmata, a very devout, pious lady, a pious devotee of Bhagwan. And he might also recall his visit to Jamnagar, Dwarka, Somnath, etc. So when Swami asked, Nuvu, I said, Jamnagar, Swami. Immediately Swami said, hey, Neeku Jamnagar ki yem sambandhamu. Meaning, what relationship do you and Jamnagar have? There was laughter in the room. Even I was trying to explain to Bhagwan that during that time my parents were staying there. But that incident was yet another reinforcement in my faith in his omniscience. He knew everything about me without me having to tell him explicitly. Now I would like to recall one more shower of grace when we experienced Swami's omnipotence. For this, I would like to rewind to our stay in New Delhi. My parents, a few Samiti members, would go for a pilgrimage to Brindavan near Mathura. And they would sometimes take me and my brother too. In fact, they had purchased Lord Krishna and Radha's idols, small idols, along with the kirita, the other jewelry, the dresses, etc. And they held a very prominent place in our house altar. One day, after a very hectic sadhana camp in our Samiti in New Delhi, we were all taking rest. My parents in their room, I was sleeping in my room, which as I mentioned earlier is also the altar room of our house. And my one uncle by name Mr. Prithviraj was taking rest in the hall. After we all got up, Raja uncle told us that he had a dream, or rather a vision, in which Lord Krishna had come and he was interacting with him. I too was present in that dream of his, and he was asking Lord Krishna, why doesn't this avatar come to Delhi often and spend time with the devotees there? Anyway, the interaction ended, and when the time for Krishna to leave came, I was pleading with Krishna that he should not go, he should stay. And in fact, I ran behind Krishna to try and hold him. But Krishna left, and Raja uncle's vision or dream also ended there. Raja uncle felt that something of Lord Krishna was left in my hand, even as he left. I felt happy, at least in somebody else's dream I was with the Lord. Anyway, later in the evening, my mother, when she was cleaning the house altar, she found the peacock feather which adorns Lord Krishna's crown under our altar. For the vision that Raja uncle had, Swami gave proof in the physical plane. Was this not a proof sufficient of his omnipotence? Seshamaraju, Bhagwan's elder brother, wrote to Swami in mid-1940s about the sarcastic comments given by the skeptics. And Bhagwan replied, they do not know who I am. In fact, nobody can gauge my reality. However long one tries, whatever means one adopts. It is therefore a futile exercise for us to inquire about how Swami travels across the realms of time and space. Sufficient is the thrill thereof for us. Swami answers our prayers whenever they come from a sincere heart. The very few occasions that my mother has told me to pray to Bhagwan for a particular blessing, Swami has always responded. May not be in his physical form only. In the year 2008, my parents had actually constructed a house near Kadugudi, where Swami's Brindavan ashram is. And they wanted me to pray to Bhagwan and give him the invitation for the Griha Pravesham. I remember I had tried to type it in Telugu. Actually, I am brought up at Delhi and I am not educated in Telugu. Rarely did I stay in Andhra Pradesh. So my Telugu is a bit dodgy, to say the least. But Swami accepted the invitation. He smiled and also gave a namaskar. For that event, my mother had desired to have a life-size photograph of Bhagwan framed. Just when it was appearing that it would be difficult to get the framed photograph on time, one of the Sai brothers helped in bringing it on the day of Griha Pravesham. And even as the wrappers were being removed, we saw that Vibhuti had already manifested in Bhagwan's photograph, and it only grew in size during the function. On that day, we had also organized for a homam in the evening. After the homam got over, after a dinner prasadam and a satsang in the house, we retired very late in the night. Middle of the night, one of the uncles actually got up saying that he was feeling very hot. He was sweating profusely, literally burning. On that cold winter night, the February night in Bangalore, the only source of heat could have been that Homkunda. So we all came down to the ground floor where the homam was performed to sort of examine the Homakunda. And we were surprised and happy to note a small idol of Lord Hanuman in that Homakunda. Can one even consider it a coincidence that the house is located in Maruti layout and is adjacent to an Hanuman temple? Earlier in the day, we had also seen bite marks on the fruits that were offered as Naivedyam for Swami. So for that invitation which he had accepted, he showed in several ways how he had come to bless on that occasion. Having joined Swami's organization, working in Swami's organization, what is the attitude or the outlook that we should have when we are here at his feet? During 1970s, one day, Swami called the Prashanti Nilayam ashram inmates for an interaction to the bhajan hall. After everybody had settled, Swami asked for the door and the windows of the hall to be closed. He then told the secretary of the ashram to speak. It is customary that before Swami gives his discourse, one or two people speak before him. And on this day, it was the chance of this senior devotee. Seeing the mannerisms, how Swami had told to close all the doors and windows, etc., he felt that Swami was a little upset with this group of people. So he said, Swami would be happy that you have left your regular lives and you have joined Swami's seva in the ashram. However, it would displease him if you do not follow the discipline here, you spend your time in vain gossip and do not do your work properly. None of you actually are doing sufficient for Swami. As soon as he said that statement, Swami asked him to stop. And he himself arose to speak. And Swami said, whatever the secretary has said so far is true, except this last statement. He said, none of you are doing enough for Swami. Whereas the truth is, none of you need to do anything for Swami. I have created these chances for you to join this service so that you work for your own upliftment, so that you sublimate your stay here. all these chances that I have created are for your sake. Actually, it is quite a headache for me to be able to correct all of you or undo the wrong that you do. But then, if I don't create these opportunities for you, how would you benefit? How will you experience the gift of working for Swami? In Ramayana, if Rama wanted, he would have got back Sita in a trice. Just his sankalpa was sufficient. But then, how would all the monkeys, the humans, the bears, how would they experience the joy of working for him? The joy of kinship that he had come to give. It is for their sake that Rama underwent the entire ordeal. It is the same now. Realize the chance that you have got and then work towards your redemption. Swami is always in charge of what the entire situation is. His plans are the best. However, we think that with the learning, with the experience, with the opportunity or the position that he has given us, we make decisions that are useful, that are good for our institution. But Swami knows the best. God is depicted as a three-eyed one. The one who knows the past, the present and the future. And therefore, his plans are the best. Let me narrate an incident of how Swami showed how he is taking care of his institution. This was in the year 2014. The biochemistry analyzers had outlived their lives, and therefore the hospital decided that it was time to change and bring in a new one. After numerous demonstrations, cost and feature comparisons, finally one particular model was selected called EU480 from a renowned company. As was the case during that time for all the imported equipment, our trust had decided to apply to the government of India for exemption from the customs duty. During this while, what was happening was the old equipment were giving a lot of failures, lot of troubles, lot of breakdowns. So we had actually purchased a small electrolyte analyzer. Electrolyte analyzer is a small machine which can do only 2 or 3 of the plethora of tests that a biochemical analyzer could do. And we were separately analyzing the specimens for electrolytes on this machine. The older analyzers were giving a lot of trouble. We had, as I said, applied for the customs duty exemption. More than 6 months passed and the exemption did not come. And many a time we would be in a very tricky situation. We had 2 machines that time, and one of them would have been in breakdown, and the second one which we were using suddenly would stop working. And very mysteriously, the first one which was not working would suddenly start working. Many a time without any intervention from our engineers. Swami was supporting us even as the new machine was expected. Coming back to the story of the new equipment, since we had already purchased an electrolyte analyzer, the hospital decided that we should buy this EU480 without the electrolyte module. And we had applied for the customs exemption, which did not materialize for more than 6 months. In the month of December 2015, the company, the vendor, finally gave a deadline. We had to place an order by the 23rd of December because the parent company, the global company, was revising their prices from the new year. And we had already negotiated for a very good price. The customs duty exemption, which didn't come for 6 months, it was just impossible for it to come in 6 days. So we were in a fix as to what we could do. And there was a pleasant surprise. The vendor said that he would be willing to absorb the customs duty portion of the purchase, which was a good 18-20% of the cost of the equipment itself. And mind you, this was already negotiated price. We were happy that, we'll get a new machine and our troubles with the older ones would end. But then there was one other issue. The dealer did not have a ready stock of AU480 without the electrolyte analyzer. So he insisted that the hospital places an order with electrolyte module. Now we were in a fix once again, because that would mean an increase in the cost by around 10%. But Swami's grace, the vendor was inspired to give the electrolyte module free of cost to the hospital. And finally, with Swami's grace, the equipment was installed and commissioned in the first week of January. But that's not the end of the story. An year later, the Satya Sai General Hospital, which was situated in Whitefield 4 kilometers from here, was relocated to this campus, the super specialty campus. And within a few months, the workload doubled, both in the sample collection area as well as the analyzing, the testing labs. With this type of workload, if we were to analyze the electrolyte samples separately, it would have been quite a hectic work, and more importantly, time-taking and error-prone one. Thanks to the availability of a machine with the electrolyte module, we were able to cater to the need on time and without performing any errors. Just look at this entire incident once more, and you will find what was appearing very, very unfavorable for us. The customs duty not coming despite so many months, the vendor putting up a deadline, we having to buy a machine with the electrolyte module, all this was looking very unfavorable for our institute. But then it became wonderfully favorable for the future requirement of the hospital. Swami's unseen hand is at work to cater to both the present as well as the future requirement of his institutions. In this instance, Swami actually gave us the vision to see it with the right perspective. Otherwise, most often our limited minds would not be able to join the dots and understand how Swami is taking care of us. Swami is so sweet. One of our well-wishers commented, when one is truly willing to sacrifice, Swami would bestow upon them the very thing they want to sacrifice. And in this case, our technicians were willing to put in that extra effort of analyzing them separately, noting down, transcribing onto the information systems, etc. But then Swami gave that module to us. Swami is always in charge. That is what he showed us through this interaction. I would also like to acknowledge and gratefully acknowledge the wonderful attitude, the wonderful staff that we have at our hospital, who bring in with them such a beautiful attitude of love and service, because of whom the work becomes a pleasure at Swami's place. These Swami's massive projects, based on the highest ideals, have a very high inductive effect. Anybody who comes in contact with Swami or his projects, the willingness to serve, the willingness to contribute is induced in them. And there are countless of such type of instances that we see almost on a regular fashion. I would like to narrate a few such instances. Just very recently, our hospital had sent a few cordless phones, a few old cordless phones for repair. The vendor found that only one among them was repairable, and he repaired that and gave. But he also said, for Swami's hospital, let me take this opportunity. He gave us 6 new cordless phones free of cost, because the old ones were not repairable. There's another vegetable vendor, a very simpleton, but he comes and regularly leaves some vegetables so that the dietary can cook nutritious food for our patients. There's one more very senior professor who comes all the way from the Bangalore city to teach very simple chapters for our BSc students, and he considers this as his service to Bhagwan. There is one more refrigeration vendor who said that for the countless medicines that Bhagwan is providing for so many patients, he would like to provide the appropriate storage and gave some refrigerators free for Swami's hospital. I remember one day a patient came to the blood bank and he said, "Can I donate blood?" On probing, we found out that he was a cardiac patient. He had undergone a heart surgery in our hospital and he was discharged just that day in the morning. And we explained to him that a heart patient should not donate blood. It is not safe for him. With eyes moistened with gratitude, he said, "Swami has given me this operation. He has restored my health. In fact, he has put my entire family back onto the right path. But I do not have anything to offer to him. I thought by donating blood, I would be beneficial to his hospital in some small way." With such a feeling of gratitude to Bhagwan for having blessed my life and also bringing such wonderful people in my life, my parents, grandparents, my brother, my cousins, and the wonderful staff and this beautiful holistic healing environment, I offer my gratitude to Bhagwan and Team Manohriday Sai for giving me this opportunity. Jai Sai Ram.
ఇలాంటి పవిత్రమైన మానవ జన్మ ఎత్తి కూడాను
Having been born as a human,
మృగముల వలె పశువుల వలె మనం జీవిస్తున్నామంటే ఎంత అవమానం.
having been born as a human being, what a shame it is to lead the life of an animal and a demon.
పశువు పక్షులు కూడాను భుజిస్తున్నాయి.
The birds and beasts
ఆహార
are to
నిద్ర భయ మైథునాని సామాన్యమే తత్ పశుభిన్నరాణి.
eat. In fact, the food, procreation, sleep are common to mankind.
జ్ఞానం
The beasts
నరాణ
as well.
అధికం విశేషః.
The wisdom is an extra quality in mankind.
జ్ఞానేన శూన్యః పశుభిః సమానః.
Without wisdom, he is worse than an animal.
ఇంక నీవు అనిమలకు నీకు ఉన్నటువంటి భేదం ఏమిటి?
Then where lies the difference between you and an
అది
animal?
తింటుండాలి, నీవు తింటున్నావు.
They to eat and you do that.
అది ఎంజాయ్ చేస్తుండాలి, నీవు ఎంజాయ్ చేస్తున్నావు.
Animal enjoys, so you also
అది
enjoy.
నిద్రపోతుండాలి, నీవు నిద్రపోతున్నావు.
Animal sleeps, so you
అది
sleep.
విషయవాసన అనిపిస్తుండాలి, నీవు విషయవాసన అనిపిస్తున్నావు.
Animals enjoy the sensual pleasure.
ఎందుకు
so
నిన్ను
also you.
అనిమల్ అనిపించకూడదు?
Why? In what way you are different?
నిన్నెందుకు మనిషి అనిపించాలి?
Why are you called a human?
మానవత్వం అనేటువంటిది ఎందుకు సార్థకం చేసుకోవాలి?
Why don't you work to fulfill the task of the
కనుక
humanity?
అనిమల్ అనుభవించినటువంటివే మనం కూడా అనుభవిస్తున్నాము.
In fact, we share the same animal
కాబట్టి
happiness.
అది ద్విపాద పశువు. ఇది
After all, the human life has come down to the level
అది
of
చతుర్పాద
two-legged
పశువు.
animal. That animal is four-legged.
అంతే. కాళ్ళు వ్యత్యాసమే కానీ భావనలు రెండు ఒకటి.
It's only difference in the number of legs, that's all.
కనుక ద్విపాద పశువు అనేటువంటి వాడు ద్విపాద పశుపతిగా మార్చుకోవాలి.
And in fact, being an animal, he should go to the level of Pashupati God.
కనుకని మనం మానవులైనందుకు పశుపతి తత్వాన్ని మనం పెంచుకోవాలి.
And being a human, we should develop the divine quality.
భగవత్ తత్వములు ఎక్కడ పోయినప్పటికీ ఈ ఏకత్వం అనేటువంటి మనం గుర్తింపు తెచ్చాలి.
In fact, the divinity stands for the principle of oneness.
కనుక మనము ఏదో రూపనామాలను మాత్రం భేదంగా తీసుకొని
We go by the differences of name and form.
దాని యొక్క పరిస్థితి ప్రభావం మనము అర్థం చేసుకోకుండా
We don't understand the circumstances and effects
కాలంను వ్యర్థం చేస్తున్నాం.
and waste of time.
కనుక మనం కాలంను వ్యర్థం చేయకూడదు.
We should not waste
టైమ్
time.
ఈజ్ గాడ్.
Time is
డోంట్
God.
వేస్ట్ టైం.
Don't waste
టైం
time.
వేస్ట్ ఈజ్ లైఫ్ వేస్ట్.
Time waste is life waste.
కనుక మన లైఫ్ అంతా కూడా ఈ టైం చేతనే మనం వేస్ట్ చేస్తున్నాం.
And we waste our life.
మనం ఏ సెకండ్ కూడా వ్యర్థం చేయకూడదు.
We should not waste even a moment. a
ఈ
second.
కాలం గడిచిపోయినటువంటి చిక్కడం చాలా అదృష్టము.
The time lost cannot be recovered.
కనుక కాలమును మాత్రం వ్యర్థం చేయకూడదు.
So never waste time.
ఒక్క క్షణం చిక్కినా కానీ దాన్ని సార్థకంగా ఎంచుకోవాలి.
Even a second should be used well.
అనవసరమైన మాటలతో కానీ
In unnecessary words,
అసభ్యమైన పనులతో కానీ
in wasteful acts,
కాలమును మనం అనేక విధంగా వ్యర్థం చేస్తున్నాం.
we are wasting our time.
కనుకని దివ్యత్వమైనటువంటి భావాన్ని మనం అభివృద్ధి పరచుకొని
We have to develop divine thoughts
పవిత్రమైన జీవితాన్ని మనం ఆచరించాలి.
and lead a sacred life.
ఈ విధమైనటువంటి జీవితాన్ని మనం పొందాలనుకుంటే
In order to have that life,
సత్కర్మలు,
good deeds,
సదాచారములు,
good life,
సత్ప్రవర్తన,
good conduct,
సచ్చింతన,
and good thinking,
దీన్ని మనం పోషించుకోవాలి.
we have to develop this quality.
ఏ చిన్న పని చేసినా కానీ అది పవిత్రమైన పనిగా ఉండాలి.
It may be a simple task, let it be sacred.
స్వార్థము స్వప్రయోజన నిమిత్తమై ఈ కర్మలు ఆచరించకూడదు.
We should not do anything keeping in view selfishness.
స్వార్థము
selfishness.
స్వప్రయోజనం ఉండవచ్చును,
It may be there.
కానీ దాన్ని తెగించినటువంటి మానవుడు ఈ జగత్తులో కానరాడు.
In fact, don't have anybody who sacrifice.
కానీ నిరంతరం కూడా స్వార్థం స్వప్రయోజనంతోనే కాలం వ్యర్థం
We
చేయకూడదు.
cannot waste time spending all the time in selfishness.
దినములకు 24 గంటలు ఉంటుంటాయి.
We have 24 hours.
ఈ 24 గంటల లోపల 23 గంటల 30 నిమిషములతో కూడా మనం వ్యర్థం చేస్తున్నాం.
And in fact, we are wasting most of the time 23
ఏదో 10
hours.
నిమిషాలు 30 నిమిషాలు మనం సార్థకం చేసుకుంటున్నాం.
And after all, we are making proper use of
అది
20-30
కూడా
minutes.
సరైనటువంటి సార్థకత కాదు.
And it's not proper way.
మనసు ఎక్కడో, మనిషి ఎక్కడో.
Mind is elsewhere, man is here.
కనుక సాధ్యమైనంత వరకు కూడాను
To the extent possible,
కాలమును పవిత్రం గావించుకునేటువంటి కర్మలో మనం ప్రవేశించాలి.
we should do sacred deeds all the time.
భజన బినా సుఖ శాంతి నహీ, హరి నామ బినా ఆనంద నహీ, హరి నామ బినా ఆనంద నహీ, हरि भजन बिना शांति नहीं, जप ध्यान बिना संयोग नहीं, जप ध्यान बिना संयोग नहीं, प्रभु दर्श बिना प्रज्ञान नहीं, दय धर्म बिना सत्कर्म नहीं, भगवान बिना कोई अपना नहीं, हरि नाम बिना परमात्मा नहीं, हरि नाम बिना परमात्मा बिना आनंद नहीं, हरि नाम बिना आनंद नहीं, हरि भजन बिना सुख शांति नहीं।